I'm Janis Putelis with MeatEater, and I'm going to show you how to debone the rear quarter of a white-tailed deer. The same process I'm going to show you can also be used for elk, caribou, antelope. It's going to be different sizes, but like I said, the process will work for any one of those animals. For the bigger ones like a moose, you might just need a helping hand to get through it. The first thing I like to do when deboning the rear quarter is like to find this little thin slab of meat here that basically sits in line between the joint and the ball joint. This, I guess you could call it the knee. And it's a very skinny little piece of meat. You can see if I just kind of trace the outside and I cut it out of here. This is a prime candidate for the old grind pile or stew meat pile. And at this point you can see it exposes a seam which pretty much runs right down to the femur, which connects the ball joint to the joint here. If you put your fingers and push hard enough down there, you'll feel the resistance of the bone. Meat here, bone here. I'll just then cut down that seam right to the bone. You can see on this white-tailed doe, it took about 1.5 inches or so of cutting through meat to get to that femur. You can see it right there, nice straight line between the knee joint and the ball joint here. So at this point, I'm just going to continue tracing around that femur, gently following around. The bone. Try not to press that blade too hard against the bone because the bone will dull your blade. And this is where a tool like the MeatCrafter knife from Benchmade comes in really handy. It's got just enough flex in that tip. You can see there that when I'm in there, that tip is flexing around that bone and working with the curve of that bone to, again, leave more meat with the meat and less meat on the bone. Just going to continue working around here. This is certainly an imperfect science when you get to here. Don't worry about having a little bit of meat around the joint. Most of this stuff is going to be very sinewy, a lot of connective tissue. Just try to get back to the bone as soon as you can. And then again, just trace it all the way up to the knee. You can see here my major muscle groups kind of end about here, and I've got the boneless shank here, which is attached to the gambrel, and then the shank meat that's actually on the more of the shin bone. So I'm going to cut through here, right to that femur. Like I always say, let nature be your guide here. Just follow the lines that are here. And there you go. There is the femur and then lower leg from a rear quarter from a white-tailed doe. The little boneless shank and the shank meat is still attached to it. For that, I'm just going to quickly just trim it all off. I'm going to work this into my stew meat pile. So here you have what I would consider a boneless ham from a white-tailed doe deer. At this point, you could break it down into separate muscle cuts, or you could truss it together and do a smoked ham, whatever you want to do. But it's ready to go, no bone. To get your MeatCrafter by Benchmade, go to themeateater.com.